If you had walked into Amsterdam in the year 1650, you wouldn't have felt like you were entering a city. You would have felt like you were entering the control room of the world. Ships filled the harbour as far as the eye could see. The air smelled of salt, tar and spices carried from thousands of miles away. Sailors shouted in Dutch, Portuguese, English and languages from Asia. Crates of pepper, silk, sugar, silver and porcelain moved constantly from dock to warehouse. This was not a kingdom. This was not an empire ruled by a king. This was something far more dangerous. A merchant republic that had figured out how to turn trade into power. In the early 1600s, the Dutch Republic had just broken free from Spanish rule. They were small. They were surrounded by larger powers. They did not have the vast land empires of Spain or France, but they had ships and they had systems, and those systems changed the world. At the center of it all stood Amsterdam. The harbor was the beating heart. Hundreds of vessels came and went each week. The Dutch East India Company, the VOC, operated from here. It wasn't just a trading company, it was the most powerful corporation the world had ever seen. It could wage war, sign treaties, build colonies, control entire spice islands in Asia. It was a company with an army, and ordinary people could invest in it. That's what made Amsterdam revolutionary. In 1602, something happened here that would reshape global finance forever. The world's first official stock exchange opened. For the first time in history, regular citizens could buy shares in a global enterprise. Risk was divided, profit was shared, and power became financial. Instead of conquering territory directly, Amsterdam conquered trade routes. Inside the city, wealth began to show itself in quiet but unmistakable ways. Walk along the canals and you'll see tall, narrow houses rising beside the water. Their facades are elegant, symmetrical, controlled, but they are also practical. The width of each house was taxed based on canal frontage, so builders constructed them narrow and deep. At the top of many houses, a wooden beam with a hook extends outward. That hook wasn't decorative, it lifted heavy goods into upper storage floors, because these weren't just homes, they were trading hubs. Spices from Indonesia might sit on one level, textiles from India on another, sugar from the Caribbean stacked below. Amsterdam's canals weren't built for beauty, they were built for movement. The city expanded outward in carefully planned rings. Unlike medieval cities that grew in chaos, Amsterdam expanded with geometry. The canal belt became a masterpiece of urban planning, controlling water, enabling trade, organizing neighborhoods. But beneath this order, tension existed. Dock workers worked long hours unloading ships in freezing wind. Sailors spent months at sea, many never returning. Disease could spread quickly in dense quarters. Wealth was visible, but not universal. Still, people kept arriving, because Amsterdam offered something rare in the 1600s, relative freedom. While Europe was torn apart by religious wars, Amsterdam became a refuge. Jews fleeing persecution in Spain and Portugal found safety here. French Protestants escaping violence rebuilt their lives here. Printers published books here that were banned elsewhere. Tolerance wasn't purely moral, it was strategic. More people, more skills, more innovation, more profit, and profit fueled culture. This was the age of Rembrandt, of Vermeer, of Dutch painters who didn't just paint kings and saints. They painted merchants, families, markets, ordinary life. Because in Amsterdam, the merchant class was powerful. Unlike monarchies dominated by aristocrats, the Dutch Republic was governed by regents, wealthy merchants who ran city councils. Commerce wasn't secondary to politics. Commerce was politics. The shipyards never stopped. Dutch ships were built to be efficient and cost-effective. They carried more cargo with smaller crews than competitors. This gave them a massive advantage in global trade. Grain from the Baltic, timber from Scandinavia, wine from France, spices from Asia. If Europe needed it, Amsterdam likely handled it. For decades, the city became known as the warehouse of the world. But dominance invites rivals. England watched carefully. The English began adopting Dutch financial innovations. They strengthened their navy. Trade wars erupted. The Anglo-Dutch Wars of the 17th century were brutal struggles for control of sea routes and commerce. The blueprint Amsterdam had created was being copied, and slowly power began to shift. London would eventually rise, learning directly from Amsterdam systems. The Bank of England would adopt financial mechanisms first refined here. Stock markets across the world would follow the model created in this city. But for one brilliant century, Amsterdam stood alone, a small republic outperforming empires. A city proving that wealth could be built not only through conquest, but through organization, through risk management, through calculated ambition. And when you walk through Amsterdam today, along those quiet canals, past those leaning houses, it feels peaceful, almost gentle. But beneath that calm lies the skeleton of a global superpower. The foundations of modern capitalism were laid here.
The concept of corporate shares, the idea that risk could be distributed, the system that allowed ordinary investors to fund global ventures. This wasn't accidental, it was engineered. Amsterdam didn't rule because it was the largest, it ruled because it was the smartest network in the world. And that network changed how power works forever. So when you think of global financial centers today, New York, London, Hong Kong, remember that the model began in a small Dutch city built on water. A city of merchants, a system of systems, a city that for a moment in history controlled the flow of the world. And that is the true story of Amsterdam's golden age. Now tell me, should we step next into Venice at its maritime peak, Paris before revolution reshaped Europe, or Constantinople at the crossroads of continents? Because history isn't just about what happened, it's about understanding how the world we live in was built, and Amsterdam helped build it.